Hello everybody and welcome back to our AFL analysis series where we analyse each AFL club's 2024 fixture, identify some breakout players and set a realistic passing mark for their season. Today we have the Port Adelaide Footy Club who had a pretty good home and away season. They re-signed Ken Hinkley and their two superstars Rosie and Butters had fantastic seasons. But as is the case with the power of new, they couldn't seem to win in September when it really matters. So let's see if they can do it next year. A lot of people predicted a fall off for them, so we'll analyse what's going on with the club. Let's quickly recap their 2023 and look forward to what lies ahead for them in 2024.
In 2023, the Power finished third on the ladder with 17 wins and 6 losses. They really had a fantastic home and away season. The only hiccup, I'd say, was their round 2 clash against Collingwood and both of the showdowns against the Crows, which I would have expected them to play better in coming into those matches. They had one of the longest win streaks in the competition at one stage and looked like one of the best teams in the competition, if not the best, alongside Collingwood, Brisbane and Melbourne as the standout teams for that year. However, it all fell apart in the finals, losing to Brisbane at the Gabba in the first week and then losing to a rampaging GWS side at home, ultimately going out in straight sets. So it was another disappointing finals campaign with a consistent inability to win when they were expected to do so, which is a disappointing result for how good of a team they really are. Their 2024 fixture was ranked the second hardest. They have one bye in round 13. 6 of the first 8 rounds are at home at the Adelaide Oval. They play 5 Thursday and Friday primetime games. The other highlights of their fixture include a gather round game, a Friday home game during Anzac round, a home Sir Doug Nicholls round clash in round 10, and games in blockbuster time slots against big Victorian clubs Essendon, Melbourne, Hawthorn and Carlton. They'll travel to Perth, Gold Coast, Geelong, Sydney and Tasmania, and will play in Melbourne 5 times with 3 games at the MCG. They play the Crows, Carlton, Fremantle, Melbourne, Richmond and St Kilda twice. So that makes it 2 top 6 teams, 2 middle 6 teams and 2 bottom 6 teams from last year. The Crows are obviously their traditional rivals, will play in both showdowns. Those are always cracking encounters in front of a packed house at Adelaide Oval and always a joy for a neutral to watch. So we'll see if they can turn the tide, losing both showdowns last year. Carlton are coming into the season in fantastic shape and there'll be 2 very hard matchups as the Carlton Footy Club look to make their grand final and go one step further than last year. Fremantle, not quite sure yet how they're going to go. They had a very disappointing season last year, but they've got a pretty good young list, so they should be 2 good matchups there as well. Melbourne will likely be a top side yet again, despite all their off-field controversy. Richmond, who many have expected to slide, they should be 2 easier matchups, one at the Adelaide Oval and one MCG. Port Adelaide will be coming into those games expecting to win, and rightly so. Under a new coach, Adam Uze, the Tigers will likely slip down the ladder. And finally, St Kilda, who had a very consistent year last year, making the finals, however lost in the first week to the Giants. So I expect them to be hungry for a deeper run into the finals and causing some more teams some problems next year with their fast and athletic outfit. Overall, I'd say this fixture is pretty fair for the Power and exactly what you would expect for a side that finished in the top 4 the year prior. The fans will be happy with the primetime slots and a fair few blockbuster games that they have throughout the year. There isn't anything blurringly wrong with this fixture, so let's move on to the breakout players for 2024, which I've picked 3 based on what I saw last year. Number 1, Ollie Lord. Kicked 15 goals last year, but had a fantastic first final against the Lions at the Gabba. I expect him to put on some size this off-season and be even more of a presence up forward. He's the future of the club, especially with Dixon getting on quite a bit. So I wouldn't put a 30-plus goal campaign beyond him as he gets more opportunity in a very strong side that Port Adelaide are. Number 2, Jason Horne-Francis controversially came over from North Melbourne but had a very strong year, polling quite a few more Brownlow votes than expected. He's an absolute bull with more opportunity in the middle coupled with natural progression on the cards for 2024, don't be surprised to see him absolutely explode into one of the best young guns in the competition. And finally, Mitch Georgiades, coming off an ACL injury, so my expectations aren't as high as the other two. But when he was playing some pretty good footy. He's an exceptional mark, has amazing athleticism and a good goal sense. I'd expect him to feature quite a bit in the Port Adelaide side, as quite a few clubs were after him. So both he and the club will be hoping that he can live up to his new 4-year contract. For a passing mark, the Power were unable to win crucial home finals or just important finals in general over the recent years. So frustration will be starting to mount over Ken Hinkley's future, and if he has the ability to take the team all the way. We saw last year that their best is fantastic, so with regards to a passing mark, I'd say it is to make the 8 and win a final. They've had quite a lot of list changes, so I do think a small slide is coming, but I do still see them making the finals. Their forward line is led by Big Charlie Dixon, and obviously they have a few solid tall targets in Marshall, Ollie Lord and Finlayson. Obviously, you can't fit all of those into the side, so we'll see who makes way in round 1. Their small/medium forwards are also classy, with the likes of Rioli, McEntee, Power Pepper, and Georgiades all having a healthy mix of speed, strength, and goal-kicking ability. Their midfield, I think, is the strongest part of the ground. Butters and Rosie are absolute A-graders, as we saw last year. Jason Horne-Francis should be taking another step into being on the same level as those two this year. So I'm very excited by him, as mentioned before. Ollie Wines and Boak are getting old, but still do their job well when needed. I'm not sure if they both make the side, but we'll wait and see. And the Power have had a shift in the ruck with Lysette retiring. So in comes big Ivan Soldo from Richmond, who is a quality player. Farrell and Willem Drew can also pinch hit in the middle as well, providing massive kicking and running ability as well as some tagging and strength when needed. Josh Sin is one who was starved of opportunity last year, and he could play a few more games this year as a midfielder if he gets lucky or massively improves. Their backline has taken the biggest shape shift of them all, with Radigalia and Zerk Thatcher making their way to the club. I can see them both making it into their best 22. However, these changes obviously will take a while to gel, and they'll likely concede some bigger scores as they get used to playing together. Aaliyah and Dan Houston steer the ship back there in an absolute class, as we all know. Burn Jones was an All-Australian a few years back, but seems to have lost his way, being shifted forward and just can't seem to produce what he used to. Bergman is an emerging defender, so they need to find their shoes a bit before they start to dominate. So there's quite a few question marks surrounding their backline, and it'll be interesting to see how they go. They could potentially go for a Dylan Williams, who had a very underrated year last year. So as a whole, I'm very excited to see how the Power go in 24. Can they finally make it deep into September and possibly make a grand final? Or will it be another year of what if for the pair faithful? That's all I have. Check out our best 22 video in the description for an idea of who we have making their final team. And that'll do it. Join us next time as we analyse the Richmond Footy Club for season 2024. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Thank you.